I do want to welcome back Tracy Walder, former CIA officer and FBI special agent, to speak about this complex investigation. Tracy, thank you for being here.
It's good to see you again, Natasha.
Thank you. And Tracy, what do you make of investigators being back on the scene now, collecting more evidence? And also, how much of a red flag in your mind is it that the lock was replaced the week before? Where is your mind when you hear that piece of information?
Yeah, I was really surprised actually to hear that, somewhat late on a weekend evening, that it looks like local law enforcement, just by seeing their badges, is who went inside. It looks to me like it's some kind of evidence recovery that they were doing. If they were turning lights on and off, I haven't seen the footage, but if that's what they were doing, they were most likely looking for bodily fluids of some sort. And if they were taking it out in paper bags, that's usually what we use when dealing with biodegradable kinds of fluids. That's how we transport evidence of that nature. I'm surprised that 3 weeks into the investigation, they're still collecting biological evidence. Typically, that's something that's collected rather early on. So that's surprising to me, although it could be the result of another lead, which is a really good thing. In terms of the locks being replaced that Xana's mother was speaking about, that's interesting to me. I'd want to know why. Was it replaced simply because, mundane thing that it was just broken? Or was it replaced because she didn't feel safe? So I think that's really a critical thing to look at.
And we know you've been looking at some of the images from the scene from inside of the home. What can you share with us? What is striking to you?
So what's interesting to me, and again, I'm sort of a cyber sleuth here. I'm no longer an FBI agent. I'm no longer in law enforcement. But just in looking at some of the pictures that I've seen that I think folks have probably taken with a long lens into this house, there seems to be evidence taped up on the inside of the kitchen window. So what that indicates to me is that perhaps there is blood spatter. There is some kind of biological evidence there that they did use evidence tape to mark. And so that is an indicator to me that perhaps not all of these victims were killed in their bedroom. We know that Maddie and Kaylee were killed in their beds together, unfortunately, but we don't know for sure about Xana and Ethan. So that indicates to me that perhaps there was some violence that occurred outside of a bedroom.
And our viewers at the start of the investigation shocked at the blood on the exterior wall of the house. Can you explain how that happened? What does it tell us?
So that's a hard thing to really talk about. I'll be honest, I have never seen something like that before. I have seen violent crime scenes. I have never seen blood coming out of the side of the house. I'm not certain if it's been confirmed that it's blood or not. It certainly looks like that to me. That's probably the result of sort of bad lining in the house or faulty sort of caulking of the house, and really an overabundance of blood, quite frankly. If you look at the images, I guess, of the house and where the blood is, that's the room that would have unfortunately been Xana's room. But it's hard to know whose blood that is.
Yeah, the exterior wall outside of her room, and one can only imagine the sheer amount of blood in order for it to drip down an exterior like that. And certainly, the parents speaking to Brian Enton are frustrated in the past weeks. You have been very supportive and understanding of this investigation. I've appreciated that. In the last hour when we were speaking, you were pointing some things out, and we were discussing, for example, how quickly some of these suspects were ruled out. What could be done better as you are taking a bird's eye view of this investigation?
Yes, and I try to be as supportive of law enforcement as possible. I don't think that they are ultimately trying to do the bad thing. I think they are trying to do the right thing. But what I do think could be better is communication, because I think it was Olivia Gonzalez who just said in that clip that you're referencing was that she feels that this absence of information is creating sort of all of these theories and all of these sort of people that are becoming victims that don't necessarily need to be. And so, in my opinion, I do think that communication could be done better on the part of law enforcement and their public affairs office here.
All right, Tracy Walder, certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.